You know, there's something about the way we live our lives that's hard to admit. For so many of us, our actions, our choices, our very sense of who we are, it's all tied to this quiet, desperate need to be seen, to be noticed, to feel like we matter to someone else. It's subtle, isn't it? We may not even realize we're doing it. But if we're honest, isn't so much of what we do driven by the hope that someone will notice us, that someone will say, I see you, I value you, I love you. We post pictures, share updates, dress a certain way, act a certain way, all because there's this part of us that wants to be acknowledged. And when we don't get it, when nobody notices, it stings, it leaves us feeling empty, like maybe we're not enough. And so we try harder, we give more, we twist ourselves into knots, reshaping who we are just to fit into someone else's idea of what's worthy of attention. Has it worked? Has bending over backward for validation ever truly filled you up? Can you think of a single time when twisting yourself into something you're not actually made you feel whole? Or has it left you feeling more lost, more disconnected, more invisible than before? And if we're being honest, isn't it exhausting? Isn't it exhausting to live your life trying to prove to others that you're worth noticing? There's a truth here that most of us don't want to face. A truth that's as liberating as it is terrifying. The reason you feel unseen has nothing to do with how much others notice you. It has everything to do with how much you notice yourself. It teaches people how to treat us by the way we treat ourselves. If you ignore yourself, if you constantly put yourself last, if you don't take the time to honor who you are, why would anyone else do it? Why would anyone else see what you refuse to see? Let that sink in for a moment. The way you treat yourself sets the standard for how others will treat you. If you don't value your time, your energy, your worth, why would anyone else? If you don't believe in your own value, why would anyone else? The world mirrors back to you what you project. If you're constantly chasing after others, constantly seeking their approval, constantly trying to make them notice you, all you're doing is telling the world, I'm not enough on my own. It doesn't have to be this way. You can change the way the world sees you by changing the way you see yourself. You can step out of the exhausting cycle of seeking validation and step into a life where your worth isn't tied to anyone else's opinions. And do you know what happens when you do that? When you stop chasing others and start focusing on yourself, they notice you. Not because you're trying to make them notice, but because true confidence, true self-worth is magnetic. It draws people in without effort, without desperation, without games. Think about the people in your life who inspire you. The ones who walk into a room and seem to light it up without even trying. The ones who carry themselves with an ease, a grace, a quiet confidence that makes you want to be around them. What is it about them that draws you in? Is it their looks, their accomplishments? Or is it something deeper, something intangible, something that can't be faked or forced? It's their energy, isn't it? Their sense of self. Their ability to stand tall in who they are without needing anyone else to validate them. Now, here's the powerful part. You have that same energy within you. It's not something you have to earn. It's not something you have to create. It's already there, waiting for you to notice it. Waiting for you to nurture it, waiting for you to let it shine. But you can't access it by chasing after others. You can't access it by putting your worth in someone else's hands. You access it by turning inward, by focusing on yourself, by giving yourself the love, the attention, the care that you've been so desperately seeking from others. What would it look like to truly focus on yourself? To pour all the energy you've been giving to others back into your own life? What would it feel like to wake up every day and ask, what do I need today? What would bring me joy today? What would make me feel alive today? Instead of asking, what do they need? What will make them happy? What will make them notice me? When was the last time you truly prioritized yourself? Not in a selfish way, not in an I'm better than everyone else kind of way, but in a way that says, I matter, my needs matter, my dreams matter, my peace matters. When was the last time you put yourself first without feeling guilty about it? When was the last time you looked in the mirror and said, I see you, I value you, I love you, without waiting for someone else to say it first? For so many of us, the answer is never. We've spent our whole lives waiting for someone else to give us permission to love ourselves, waiting for someone else to tell us we're enough, waiting for someone else to notice us. But you don't need their permission. You don't need their validation. You don't need them to notice you. The moment you turn your attention inward, the moment you start noticing yourself, everything changes. Because when you focus on yourself, something incredible happens. You stop needing others to fill you up. You stop needing their approval to feel whole. You stop needing their attention to feel seen. And in that space, in that freedom, you discover something you may have forgotten. You are already enough. You are already worthy. You are already whole. But this isn't just about feeling good about yourself. It's about reclaiming your power. It's about stepping into the truth of who you are. It's about living your life for you, not for anyone else. And when you do that, when you stop chasing and start creating, people notice. Not because you're trying to make them notice, but because they can't look away. They can't look away from someone who is fully alive, fully present, fully themselves. What would it look like to live your life for you? To focus on your own growth, your own joy, your own dreams? What would it feel like to let go of the need for approval, the need for validation, the need to be noticed, and instead turn all that energy inward? What would it feel like to truly see yourself? To truly value yourself, to truly love yourself? The answers to those questions are the key to everything you've been searching for. Because the truth is, the love you've been chasing, the attention you've been craving, the validation you've been waiting for, it's already within you. It's been within you all along. You just have to stop looking outside of yourself to find it. And when you do, when you finally turn inward and give yourself the love and attention you deserve, you'll realize something profound. You don't need anyone else to notice you because you've already noticed yourself. And that's more than enough. There's something strange that happens when you redirect your focus inward. At first, it feels unnatural. For so long, you've been conditioned to look outward for your worth. You've been told that your value is measured by how much others like you, how much they approve of you, how much they acknowledge you. So when you stop looking to them and start looking to yourself, a part of you resists. It whispers, who are you to think you're enough on your own? Who are you to stop chasing? Who are you to believe you deserve more? That voice is loud, isn't it? It's the voice of doubt, the voice of fear. It's the same voice that's been keeping you small, keeping you stuck, keeping you in this endless loop of trying to prove yourself to people who may never truly see you. It's not telling you the truth. It's telling you a story you've been carrying for far too long. A story that says your value is something you have to earn. A story that says your worth is tied to how much others want you, need you, notice you. What if that story isn't true? What if it never was? What if you've been living your whole life based on a lie? Think about it. Think about all the moments when you've dimmed your light to make someone else more comfortable. All the times you've said yes when you wanted to say no. All the times you've held back your truth out of fear that someone wouldn't like it. And for what? Did it ever make you feel more loved, more whole? Or did it leave you feeling more disconnected from yourself? When you spend your life trying to make others notice you, you lose sight of yourself. You forget who you are. You forget what makes you happy, what brings you peace, what lights you up. You become a version of yourself that's shaped by other people's expectations, other people's opinions, other people's needs. And the more you try to mold yourself to fit their idea of who you should be, the further you drift from who you really are. But here's the beautiful thing. You can come back to yourself. No matter how far you've strayed, no matter how long you've been lost, you can always come back. And the way you do that is by turning your focus inward, by choosing every single day to prioritize yourself, by deciding that your own love, your own attention, your own approval matter more than anyone else's. It's not selfish to focus on yourself. It's not arrogant. It's not wrong. In fact, it's the most loving thing you can do, not just for yourself, but for everyone around you. Because when you take care of yourself, when you honor yourself, when you pour into yourself, you become the best version of you. And that version of you, that's the version the world needs. That's the version your loved ones need. That's the version that's capable of giving and loving and creating without losing yourself in the process. Focusing on yourself isn't always easy. It requires you to let go of the need for external validation. It requires you to face the parts of yourself that you've been avoiding. It requires you to stop running, stop chasing, stop trying to prove your worth, and instead sit with yourself, really sit with yourself. And that can be uncomfortable, because when you stop looking outward, you have to look inward. And when you look inward, you have to confront the parts of yourself that you've been trying to hide. But here's the thing. Those parts of you, the ones you've been hiding, the ones you've been ashamed of, the ones you've been afraid to face, they're not your enemy. They're not something to fix or erase or get rid of. They're a part of you. And the more you try to push them away, the more power you give them. The more you ignore them, the louder they become. But when you face them, when you embrace them, when you give them the love and compassion they've been craving, they lose their power over you. They stop controlling you. And in their place, you find peace, you find freedom, you find yourself. You know, there's a quiet strength in someone who truly knows themselves, not in a superficial way, not in a look at me, I've got it all figured out kind of way, but in a way that says, I see myself, I accept myself, I love myself, flaws and all. That kind of strength doesn't come from other people noticing you. It doesn't come from their approval or their validation. It comes from within. It comes from the relationship you have with yourself. And that relationship, it's the foundation for everything else in your life. If you don't love yourself, how can you expect anyone else to? If you don't respect yourself, how can you expect anyone else to? If you don't prioritize yourself, how can you expect anyone else to? The way you treat yourself sets the tone for how others will treat you. So if you want people to notice you, to value you, to love you, you have to start by doing those things for yourself. What does it actually look like to focus on yourself? It's not just about self-care. It's not just about taking a bubble bath or going for a walk or treating yourself to something nice, although those things are important. It's about something deeper. It's about listening to yourself. It's about honoring your needs, your desires, your boundaries. It's about giving yourself permission to be exactly who you are without apologizing for it, without trying to change it, without trying to make it more palatable for others. It's about being honest with yourself. Really brutally honest. It's about asking yourself, what do I want? What do I need? What am I afraid of? What am I holding on to that I need to let go of? And then it's about acting on those answers. It's about making choices that align with who you are, not who you think you're supposed to be. It's about living your life for you, not for anyone else. And do you know what happens when you do that? When you stop trying to make others notice you and start noticing yourself, you attract the right people into your life. The ones who see you for who you are, not for who you're pretending to be. The ones who value you, not for what you can do for them, but for the person you are. The ones who love you, not because you've earned it, but because you deserve it. The people who are meant to be in your life will notice you. Not because you're trying to make them notice, but because they can't help but see you. The real you. The you that shines when you stop dimming your light. The you that stands tall when you stop shrinking to fit into someone else's expectations. The you that comes alive when you stop chasing and start creating. Who are you living your life for? Are you living for the people who might notice you? Or are you living for yourself? Are you chasing their approval? Or are you giving yourself your own? Are you bending and breaking and shrinking to fit their mold? Are you standing tall in your truth? The answers to those questions will tell you everything you need to know about where your focus is. And if your focus has been on them, it's time to bring it back to you. It's time to stop chasing and start creating. It's time to stop seeking and start being. It's time to stop looking outward and start looking inward. Because when you focus on yourself, when you truly, deeply focus on yourself, the world around you changes. And the people who are meant to notice you, they'll notice. They'll always notice. There's a moment that comes for all of us. A moment when we realize that the life we're living isn't really ours. It's a life shaped by other people's expectations, other people's desires, other people's opinions. Maybe it's a career we chose because it seemed impressive to others. Maybe it's a relationship we stayed in because we didn't want to face the judgment of leaving. Maybe it's a version of ourselves we've been performing for so long that we don't even remember who we really are beneath it all. And when that moment comes, when the weight of living for everyone else finally becomes too heavy to bear, we have a choice to make. Do we keep going? Do we keep putting on the mask, playing the part, doing what's expected? Or do we stop? Do we pause? Do we ask ourselves the one question that changes everything? So what do I want? It sounds so simple, doesn't it? But when was the last time you truly asked yourself that question? Not what do they want from me? Not what will make them happy? Not what will make them notice me? But what do I want? What do I want for my life? What do I want for my heart? What do I want for my soul? The truth is, most of us are too afraid to ask that question because deep down, we're terrified of the answer. We're terrified that what we want might not align with what the world expects of us. We're terrified that following our own path might mean... We're terrified that choosing ourselves might mean being alone. When you ignore what you want, when you live your life for others, when you base your worth on their approval, are you really not alone? Or are you just surrounded by people who don't truly see you? People who don't truly know you? People who love the version of you that you've created for them, but not the real you. It's a hard truth to face, isn't it? The realization that so much of our connection to others is built on a foundation of unauthenticity. But here's the beautiful, it doesn't have to stay that way. You don't have to keep pretending. You don't have to keep performing. You don't have to keep living someone else's life. You can choose to live your own. And when you do, when you show up as your authentic self, something incredible happens because authenticity is magnetic. There's something about someone who is unapologetically themselves that draws others in. Not everyone, of course. Some people will be uncomfortable with your authenticity. Some people will walk away. And that's okay. Let them go. Let them make space for the people who are meant to be in your life. People who love you for who you are, not who you're pretending to be. That's the catch. You can't attract those people until you're willing to be yourself. You can't create real, meaningful connections while you're still hiding behind a mask. And you can't show up as your authentic self until you start focusing on yourself. So what does that look like? It starts with listening to the quiet voice within you that's been drowned out by the noise of the world, the voice that knows what you want, what you need, what's right for you. The voice that's been trying to guide you all along, if only you'd let it. That voice is your intuition, your inner knowing, your connection to the truth of who you are, and the more you listen to it, the louder it becomes. The more you trust it, the more it guides you, the more you honor it, the more it leads you to the life you're meant to live. But listening to that voice isn't enough. You have to act on it. You have to take the steps that scare you. You have to make the choices that others might not understand. You have to be willing to disappoint people, to let them down, to risk their judgment if it means staying true to yourself. Because here's the thing, the people who truly love you, the people who truly see you, the people who truly value you, they won't be disappointed when you choose yourself. They won't judge you for following your own path. They'll support you. They'll celebrate you. They'll walk beside you, not because they want something from you, but because they want what's best for you. And the people who can't handle your authenticity, the people who try to pull you back, to keep you small, to make you doubt yourself, they're not your people. They never were. And that's okay. Not everyone is meant to walk your path with you. Some people are only in your life for a season to teach you a lesson, to help you grow. And when their season ends, it's okay to let them go. It's okay to release them with love and gratitude and move forward without them. Because the moment you start focusing on yourself, the moment you start living for you, the moment you start honoring your own needs and desires, you'll notice something extraordinary. The people who are meant to notice, you will notice. Not because you're trying to make them notice, but because they can't help but see the light within you. A light that shines brighter and brighter the more you focus on yourself. It's not about being selfish. It's not about shutting others out or refusing to care about anyone else. It's about recognizing that you can't pour from an empty cup. You can't give to others if you're constantly neglecting yourself. You can't show up for the people you love if you're not showing up for yourself. How are you showing up for yourself? Are you giving yourself the love and attention and care that you so freely give to others? Are you treating yourself with the same kindness and compassion that you offer to the people you care about? Are you making time for your own dreams, your own growth, your own joy? Or are you putting yourself last, hoping that someday someone else will notice you and fill the void? No one else can fill that void for you. No amount of attention or approval or validation from others will ever be enough if you don't first give those things to yourself. Because the love you're searching for, the love you've been chasing, it's not out there. It's in here. It's within you. And the moment you realize that, the moment you truly believe it, everything changes. You stop chasing. You stop proving. You stop bending and breaking and shrinking to fit into someone else's idea of who you should be. And instead, you start creating. You start building a life that feels true to you. You start honoring the person you are, not the person the world wants you to be. And in doing so, you find a peace, a freedom, a joy that no one can take away from you. What do you want? Not what do they want? Not what will make them notice you, but what do you want for your life, for your heart, for your soul, and what's stopping you from going after it? The answer to that question might scare you. It might challenge you. It might require you to let go of the life you've been living and step into the unknown. But I promise you this. The life that's waiting for you on the other side of that question is so much bigger, so much brighter, so much more fulfilling than anything you could ever find by chasing after others. Because the moment you start focusing on yourself, the moment you start living for you, the moment you start honoring your own truth, the world notices. The right people notice. And most importantly, you notice yourself. There's something powerful that happens when you stop waiting for others to see you. For the first time, you realize that your life is entirely in your hands. It's not dependent on whether someone else approves of your choices or acknowledges your work. It's yours. And that realization, it's both terrifying and liberating because it means there's no one else to blame, no one else to rely on, no one else to wait for. It's just you. And that's exactly how it's meant to be. The truth is, for most of us, we've been waiting for someone to come along and give us permission to be who we are, waiting for someone to tell us we're good enough, smart enough, beautiful enough, capable enough, waiting for someone to notice us so we can finally feel seen. But what if no one comes? What if no one ever gives you the validation you've been waiting for? What if the recognition you're hoping for never arrives? Would you keep waiting? Would you keep living your life in limbo, hoping for something outside of you to make you feel whole? Or would you finally decide that waiting is no longer an option, that you're done putting your happiness, your peace, your sense of self in someone, that you're ready to step into your own power and claim the life that's been waiting for you all along? Because here's the hard truth. No one is coming to save you. No one else can give you the love and acceptance you've been searching for. No one else can make you feel seen if you refuse to see yourself. And the longer you wait, the more time you waste, time that could be spent building a life that feels true to you, a life that aligns with who you are, a life that doesn't depend on anyone else's approval. So stop waiting. Stop hoping that someone else will notice you and give you the permission you think you need. Give it to yourself, right here. Right now. Decide that you are enough just as you are. Decide that your worth isn't up for debate. Decide that you don't need anyone else to validate your existence because your existence is validation enough. But how do you do that? How do you stop waiting and start living? How do you shift your focus from what others think of you to what you think of yourself? It starts with a decision to prioritize yourself. A decision to put your own needs, your own dreams, your own well-being at the center of your life, not because you don't care about others, but because you understand that you can't truly show up for anyone else until you've first shown up for yourself. And showing up for yourself, it's not about grand gestures or dramatic changes. It's about the small, consistent choices you make every single day. It's about asking yourself, what do I need right now? And then honoring the answer. It's about setting boundaries and keeping them even when it's hard. It's about saying no to the things that drain you and yes to the things that fill you up. It's about treating yourself with the same love and compassion that you so freely give to others. Have you noticed how easily we forgive others, how quickly we offer them grace, how naturally we make space for their flaws and imperfections? But when it comes to ourselves, we're so much harsher. We hold ourselves to impossible standards. We beat ourselves up for every mistake, every misstep, every perceived failure. We give and give and give to the people around us, but when it comes to giving to ourselves, we hesitate. Why is that? Why is it so much easier to love others than it is to love ourselves? The answer lies in what we've been taught. We've been taught that self-love is selfish, that putting ourselves first is wrong, that our worth is tied to how much we can give, how much we can sacrifice, how much we can endure. But those lessons, they're lies. Lies that keep us small. Lies that keep us stuck. Lies that keep us waiting for someone else to give us what we've been taught. We're not allowed to give ourselves. Self-love isn't selfish. It's a foundation for everything else in your life. When you love yourself, you set the standard for how others will love you. When you value yourself, you teach others to value you. When you prioritize yourself, you give others permission to do the same. And in doing so, you create a ripple effect that touches everyone around you, because the people in your life, your friends, your family, your partner, your children, they're watching you, they're learning from you. And when they see you honoring yourself, when they see you showing up for yourself, it inspires them to do the same. Your self-love doesn't just benefit you, it benefits everyone around you. It gives them permission to stop waiting, to stop chasing, to stop seeking validation outside of themselves and instead turn inward. But here's the thing. Self-love isn't about being perfect. It's not about having it all figured out. It's not about always getting it right. It's about showing up for yourself even when it's messy, even when it's hard, even when you don't feel like you deserve it. It's about choosing every single day to be kind to yourself, to give yourself grace, to remind yourself that you are enough exactly as you are. And when you do that, when you truly embrace who you are, flaws and all, something incredible happens. You stop needing others to notice you. You stop needing their approval. You stop needing their validation because you've given those things to yourself. And in doing so, you free yourself from the endless cycle of chasing after something that was never yours to begin with. But here's the paradox. The moment you stop needing others to notice you, they notice. The moment you stop chasing after their approval, they give it freely. The moment you stop seeking their validation, they see you in a way they never have before, because true confidence, true self-worth, true authenticity, it's magnetic. It draws people in, not because you're trying to make them notice, but because they can't help but be drawn to the light within you. And that light, it's already there. It's always been there. It's the part of you that knows your worth. It's the part of you that doesn't need anyone else to tell you that you're enough. It's the part of you that's been waiting patiently for you to turn inward and see it for yourself. What's stopping you? What's keeping you from turning your focus inward? What's holding you back from giving yourself the love and attention and care that you deserve? Is it fear? Fear of what others might think? Fear of letting people down? Fear of stepping into the unknown? Whatever it is, know this. You are stronger than your fear. You are stronger than the stories you've been telling yourself. You are stronger than the doubts that try to hold you back. And the moment you choose to focus on yourself, the moment you choose to honor your own needs and desires, that strength will carry you forward. Because the life you're meant to live, the person you're meant to be, it's all waiting for you on the other side of that choice. The choice to stop waiting, the choice to stop chasing, the choice to stop seeking validation outside of yourself, the choice to focus on you. And when you make that choice, when you take that first step, you'll realize something profound. You've been enough all along. You've been worthy all along. You've been seen all along. You just had to notice yourself first. There's a moment of clarity that comes when you finally turn inward. It's not loud or dramatic. It's quiet, almost like a whisper, but it changes everything. It's the moment you realize that the life you've been chasing, the love you've been seeking, the validation you've been waiting for, it was never out there. It was always within you. It always has been. And in that moment, something shifts. The weight you've been carrying, the burden of trying to please everyone, of trying to make them notice you, of trying to prove your worth, it begins to lift. Not because the world has suddenly changed, but because you finally decided that you're no longer going to live your life for everyone else. Because you finally decided to live for yourself. But what does that look like? What does it mean to truly live for yourself? It means waking up every day and choosing to honor who you are. It means listening to your own voice above the noise of the world. It means trusting yourself even when others don't understand. It means giving yourself permission to take up space, to speak your truth, to follow your heart no matter where it leads. Living for yourself doesn't mean you stop caring about others. It doesn't mean you isolate yourself or shut the world out. It means you stop putting your worth in their hands. It means you stop basing your happiness on their approval. It means you stop sacrificing who you are to fit into their expectations. And when you do that, when you finally let go of the need to be noticed, you free yourself to truly connect with others. Not from a place of need, but from a place of wholeness. Because here's the paradox. The more you focus on yourself, the more you attract the right people into your life. The ones who see you, who value you, who love you. Not for what you can do for them, but for who you are. And the ones who don't. The ones who don't understand. who resist your growth, who try to pull you back into the version of yourself that makes them comfortable. You realize that their reaction has nothing to do with you. It's a reflection of their own fears, their own insecurities, their own struggles. And you let them go. Not with anger, not with resentment, but with love. Because you know that their journey is theirs, just as yours is yours. But letting go isn't always easy, is it? There will be moments when the old patterns try to pull you back. Moments when the fear of being misunderstood, of being judged, of being alone feels overwhelming. Moments when you wonder if it would be easier to go back to the way things were, to shrink yourself, to dim your light, to make yourself small enough to fit into the boxes others have created for you. In those moments, you have a choice. You can fall back into the familiar even if it no longer serves you, or you can choose to stand tall, to hold on to your truth, to keep moving forward, even when it's hard. Because growth isn't always comfortable. Change isn't always easy. But the freedom, the peace, the joy that comes from living as your authentic self, it's worth it. What are you willing to let go of? To step into the life that's waiting for you? What beliefs, what habits, what relationships, what stories are you holding on to that no longer serve you? What are you clinging to that's keeping you from fully embracing who you are? And what would happen if you let it go? What would happen if you stop holding yourself back, stop dimming your light, stop waiting for permission to be who you are? What would happen if you chose right here and now to focus entirely on yourself, not out of selfishness, but out of love? Love for the person you are. Love for the person you're becoming. Love for the life you're meant to live. Here's the truth. The life you want, the love you want, the peace you want, it all starts with you. It starts with the relationship you have with yourself. It starts with the way you speak to yourself, the way you treat yourself, the way you show up for yourself. It starts with noticing yourself, valuing yourself, loving yourself in a way that doesn't depend on anyone else. And when you do that, when you truly focus on yourself, something extraordinary happens. You stop needing others to fill you up because you're already full. You stop needing others to see you because you've already seen yourself. You stop needing others to notice you because you've finally noticed yourself. And from that place of wholeness, everything changes. Your relationships become more authentic, more meaningful, more fulfilling because they're no longer built on a foundation of need. Your work, your passions, your dreams, they become more aligned, more purposeful, more joyful because they're no longer driven by the need to prove yourself. Your life becomes richer, deeper, more vibrant because it's no longer about chasing after something outside of you. It's about creating something within you. When you focus on yourself, when you honor who you are, when you live your life for you, the world notices. Not because you're trying to make them notice, but because they can't help but be drawn to the light within you. The light that shines brighter, and brighter the more you embrace who you are, the light that was always there, waiting for you to see it. So let me leave you with this. All right, stop waiting. Stop chasing. Stop seeking validation outside of yourself. Turn inward. Focus on you. Pour into yourself. Love yourself. And watch as everything around you begins to shift. Watch as the right people, the right opportunities, the right experiences are drawn to you. Not because you need them, but because you've created the space for them. Watch as your life becomes a reflection of the love and care and attention you've given to yourself. And most importantly, watch as you realize that the person you've been waiting for, the person you've been searching for, the person you've been hoping would notice you, it was you all along. And when you finally see that, when you finally embrace that, when you finally step into the truth of who you are, the world will notice. But by then, it won't matter because you'll have already noticed yourself.